Hey everybody, this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad. Very much happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody out there. We're getting ready for the big holiday weekend, and the good news is we don't have any major weather issues. It is going to get colder, but we got to start looking ahead to next weekend. It's still pretty early, but the signs and the trends in the guidance and the pattern setting up is definitely something to keep an eye on. And there's enough confidence I have that at least we could start talking about the potential going into next weekend. Let's focus on what's happening today first. We've got a cold front heading our way. Really warm air ahead of this system is going to warm us up close to 70 degrees. Now, this is not the main front. This front's going to knock us back into the 50s. It's this cold front up here coming down through the Midwest and the northern plains. This is actually the big Arctic air, and there's actually another surge right there. That's the air we're looking for to really knock an edge off of the temperatures we've had around here lately. Let me take a look at the temperatures real quickly, and I'll show you just how cold this air mass is. Look at that, 30 below zero. That is really cold air. That is all coming our way starting Christmas Day, and boatloads of it coming down over the next week or so. And that sets the stage for next week. Now, if you ever want to get snow or wintry weather in the Carolinas, the one thing you need is cold air, and a lot of it. And that's what we have heading our way. So that's the first. That's like half the equation. If you want to see snow. It's not a short-lived cold snap. It's not timing out perfectly with moisture. It's just the fact that it's going to get cold and stay cold. So this is a look at the GFS model, which is showing that cold air moving down over the next couple of days. We'll go into Christmas Day, and you can see that's when it starts to get cold. But you see all this kind of aqua shade up here? This is the motherlode of Arctic air. This is the stuff that's going to be dropping south. This is coming straight out of the Arctic. We got some good cross-polar flow, good full latitude trough, which is basically dumping down all this cold air into the lower 48. So we'll go in closer, and you can see that Arctic high is going to slowly be sliding to the east over the Great Lakes over the next couple of days. As we get to about Wednesday or Thursday, it's going to start nosing itself down the eastern facing slopes. Now the high is right here, clockwise flow, cold air is heavy and dense. It wants to flow on the eastern side of the mountains, and it's going to get wedged up in there. We call this cold air damming, or the wedge, or you probably heard of different varieties, but it's going to set up and kind of stay there through the weekend. Now, at the same time, there's going to be southern branch pieces of energy and maybe some northern branches that are going to try to sync up and throw some moisture in there. Now, this is where the specifics of the forecast with what your app says and amounts, no idea. Absolutely not. We just know there's going to be some kind of storm system, and depending on how they strengthen and intensify and track in, we could have a little bit of snow, sleet, ice, or rain mixed. Honestly, all of those, maybe starting Thursday, but probably more likely Friday, and then another wave heading our way for the weekend. Now, the GFS, I buy the cold air. The cold air is doing a good job, but it's bringing this moisture in really quickly. It actually wants to bring it in on Wednesday, which looks way too early, and there isn't a lot of support in the ensembles or even with the European. So it's one of those things where I'm not totally buying in. But you can see the moisture coming in on Thursday. And again, don't look at the specifics because I don't know where this rain snow line is going to be, but you could see we've got cold air in place and moisture. So there's going to be some kind of mess we're going to have to deal with here in the southeast. Now, as we go through the weekend, we could see another wave develop on New Year's Eve and produce more moisture. Now, this incorporates the East Coast and then another piece of energy coming down. So the second energy coming down for later in the New Year's weekend, we're talking New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, there's going to be colder air to work with. That would probably at least lend itself more towards a snow event if it shapes up, but it's also farther out in the future, which means there's more uncertainty, and that's going into New Year's Eve. So you can see what that looks like. Now, let me show you what the probabilities are of seeing this. It's actually pretty rare to see this day 5, 6, and 7. So this is day 5. We've got a 10% probability of wintry weather. That means sleet, snow, rain. That could be a 1/4 inch of liquid equivalent. So that means inch of snow, 1.5 inches of snow, 1/2 inch sleet. So all that can be mudded in there. So don't always think about snow. This is wintry weather in general. Friday, we still have the 10% chance, but there's an enhanced chance of about 30% from Raleigh north. And then we go into Saturday, and we're still in the 10% chance. So you kind of get the idea on what's going to happen. Now, let me show you the European, because it's really interesting. And if I lean on one model in the long range, it's the European, just because it has a better track record. So here comes our first front for Christmas Day. Things cool off. You can see the cold air moving in. And then we go into the middle of the week. Now, the European doesn't show any precipitation on Wednesday, so it's much slower with this system. But it does bring moisture in late Thursday into Friday. And if you look carefully at this setup, and I'll kind of explain what you're looking at here. This is Friday morning. We've got an Arctic high. It looks like about a 1038 high, pumping cold air. See how the isobars are bent around the mountains like this? That's cold air damming. And you can see moisture in there with the surface temperatures at or below freezing. So this is, I'd love to say this is all snow. This could be ice in here as well. And that's, we're talking about the 1/10 of a degree difference in the surface temperature, warm noses. These are all things that the models cannot forecast accurately a day or two ahead of time, let alone 6-7 days ahead of time. So that's why don't get caught up in, ooh, snow versus ice, rain, snow lines here. We're not going to know that this far out. We just know that there's a threat of some wintry weather probably Friday. That could be ice, though, and that's the thing I worry about with the first system. Now we go through the weekend. That system moves out. We get into a lull on Saturday, and then New Year's Eve, Sunday, into Monday, that second system comes down. Now, this has some colder air on the back side of it, and it's a little more well-developed low-pressure system that eventually cranks up near the coast, and you can see that. It looks like a nor'easter almost right there. That is definitely more of a snow signature, at least in the European model, than the first event. The first event looked more wintry, mixed. This looks more snowy. So possibly two systems. And honestly, even the GFS has multiple systems over the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame. Now, I like to look at the ensembles, and this is taking 51 runs of the European and averaging them out. And so we'll go through Monday morning, and you could see it's spitting out basically, and I'll pause this here on Monday. It's based, I don't know, why does it do that? That's the wrong run. I don't know why it keeps doing that. So we'll show you Monday. So it's showing some snow in here, but it's in the 1 to 2 inch range. That's the ensemble mean. That's taking all of the models' runs and averaging them out. That's not a ton of snow, but the fact that the mean shows an inch or two is pretty good comp. That's why I feel like we can talk about it. Now, if I break this down even further, this is the GFS ensembles. It's crazy. Here's all 21 runs of it. It's bonkers. It's going like multiple inches, and you can see almost all of the ensembles except for a couple have snow in here. Let me look at I was going to show you. This is the European ensembles broken down a little bit better just to show you. So you can see the E is the mean, and then you can see all the runs through 51. So you can see in here there's right around Friday there's a wintry event. Now, not all the ensembles have it, but quite a few. The mean for that is like a ½ inch, and then you look around the second, third, fourth, fifth, another little batch. So you can see the models, even the ensembles, which are trying to whittle out the extreme outliers, something's going to happen here in the upcoming weekend. It's just a matter of what. And right now, I think this is probably the best way to portray that we've got the potential in here. So the thing we'll be watching for, the depth of the cold air, how established it gets, and then we're going to try to sync these jet streams to see if we can get an East Coast storm to develop. But the thing you got to know is the cold air is there. There's just no doubt about the cold air. It is going to be frigid around here for the New Year's weekend into the first couple days of the New Year. So that alone, the fact that we have cold air in place for so long, it just tells me that some moisture at some point is going to get in here and cause us the potential to get some wintry weather. You don't ever get wintry weather with the first blast of cold air. It's the second, third, and fourth one once the cold air is established. That's the one lesson I can leave you with. Don't buy into these Arctic fronts bringing you snow when they flip the pattern. It's the second, third, and fourth system down the road. So, yeah, certainly something to be excited about if you're a snow lover, but don't get too crazy because this has a lot of hints of ice in it as well. So I don't want you to think it's going to be all snow. I think if the second one could be more snowy than the first one, but there's likely, like we always see in the Carolinas, some of this is going to have a wintry mix. Of course, I'll keep things updated. We've got time to watch. This is a week away plus, so you know a lot of things can change between now and then. Have a great holiday. Enjoy the cool weather. We've got plenty of time to track this potential stormy pattern over the next week.